today our topic of discussion is to do with Swahili, that is Kiswahili language. We are to explore so much more when it comes to Swahili, that is Swahili as a language, Swahili as a culture, and a mode of communication in Africa. And I have an expert on set for this very episode. I am happy to be joined by a beautiful lady, a great woman, who has a big heart and wishes us all to be able to speak this particular language, since it's a Bantu language. I am having a Kiswahili teacher for great insight for this very episode. That is Sweetie Imbache. She'll be letting us know if that is the right pronunciation and how amazing her name sounds. You're most welcome once again, my dear viewer. Yet to introduce to you our guest for the day. You're most welcome to this very episode. Good to be hosting you on the National Broadcaster UBC, a lovely program, Education Forum, here to give more insight to the viewers watching. And it's interesting to have you join us, Sweetie Imbache. Please tell us more about your name and you.
Asante sana. Asante is just thank you. Usually when they say asante, you say karibu. Karibu is just welcome.
Please do that again. You're most welcome.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Oh, you are already. I promised to give you my book. You know, I write books. I write Kiswahili books because I'm supporting Kiswahili speakers. I've been teaching Kiswahili for, I think, more than 20 years. I've been teaching Kiswahili language. And I also thought Kiswahili should have been the language to unify the Africans, though the UN also did it for us. Now we are there. My name is Imbache Sweetie. Sweetie is my name, surely. Surely.
And Imbache sounds Swahili itself.
Oh, Imbache is my father's name. May his soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Yeah. It's my father's name. I use my father's name.
Okay. Well, happy to be having a woman on the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, for the viewer who's watching us, that is Sweetie for you, a Kiswahili teacher for the day. But before we get into our discussion, to inspire the institutions out there when it comes to Swahili, I have a few facts to air out to you, and then we shall hear it from the expert. If those facts are really genuine, or there's something that we need to change. You're watching Education Forum. My name is Sandra, and I guess for the day, Sweetie Imbache, for the facts coming through as far as the language is concerned, that is Swahili, which is also known as Kiswahili, a Bantu language spoken by approximately 150 million people across East and Central Africa. It serves as a lingua franca for various ethnic groups in the region. Now, they say Swahili originated from the coastal areas of East Africa, particularly in what is now Tanzania and Kenya. Over the centuries, it developed as a result of interactions between local Bantu communities and Arab traders, resulting in a unique blend of Bantu grammar and Arabic loanwords. Swahili has a rich cultural history and serves as a symbol of national unity in several East African countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It became the official language of the East African Community, that is in 2004, a regional intergovernmental organization comprising of 6 member states. Now, Swahili is a phonetic language, meaning it is pronounced as it is written. This makes it relatively easy for learners to grasp the pronunciation and acquire speaking skills. Something also interesting that has really intrigued me, that is that Swahili language uses a Latin-based alphabet with 26 letters. The pronunciation is straightforward. Swahili has a rich vocabulary and with various loanwords from Arabic, English, Portuguese. And well, it is renowned for its poetic and rhythmic qualities. It can also offer significant cultural and economic advantages. Well, our guests will be letting us know if that research is true or I need to change my work, because I'm one of those people who has a few words that enable me cross the border and also not to starve along the way. So if I ask for chakula, I know I'll get food. The rest, I am yet to discover in this very episode. Keep watching. Well, good to know you're still watching this very episode. Sweetie, that was a little research I happened to come across. But you being an expert, with all this time that you've been there, the journey of 20 years down the road, amazing journey, I should say. How is my research?
Beautiful. You are like the, these Chinese used to say, the original Chinese. That's original. You are like the Mswahili halisi. Mswahili halisi is an original Swahili speaker. So you are research as if you were there. Because it's true that Kiswahili has, for instance, the alphabet, it's just the same like English, just that Kiswahili doesn't have Q and X in its alphabet. Then Kiswahili, like, you know, in some schools, my students were telling me that their teachers told them that Kiswahili is a mixture of Bantu and Arabic. But in my book, actually in my books, I normally say that is not true, because a language grows by borrowing. So the fact that Kiswahili has maybe 20% or something Arabic, and maybe 80 or 70 just approximately of Bantu words, because like in Uganda or some of the languages I've had in Uganda, you say muntu or muntu. In Kiswahili we say mutu. You have mwana. Across the Bantu languages, in Kiswahili we also have mwana. So that's why I was saying Kiswahili, it's just the best language to unite the Africans. Your history was very good.
So when it comes to the originality and the
Originality,
history of the language itself,
yeah, it came
that's why
from
it
the.
stands.
Yeah,
How about the myth that goes, the myth, I know you've heard about it, that now that you're giving us the right history and the significance of itself as a language. Like they say, it was conceived in Tanzania, and it was conceived in Tanzania and rebirthed in Kenya, and was nurtured somewhere in the DRC, and it could have died somewhere. I don't know where we stand as Uganda. Please give us more insight when it comes to that.
I don't really trust that statement that Kiswahili was born and died. Like I said, a language lives. You know, they say language is in the society. When you are in the society, you want to know what is kiti. Kiti is a chair. Simu is a phone. You know, you want to know mwanamke, mwanamume, something. You just, a tree, muti is a tree. You want to know a few things once you are in a society. So a language, once it's born, it lives on. That's what I would say. As much as they say it was born, just because in Tanzania, you know, Tanzania, they really fought for Kiswahili. It reached a time that in Tanzania, they wouldn't speak the Mzungu language. That's why we have the translation. So in Tanzania, they would say, like Nyerere and Magufuli, they would, among others, they would say, let me speak my Kiswahili. You pay the translators to teach you what I've said. So that is what would happen. And the Mzungu will actually go for the translators. And then they reached a time, okay, in Uganda, as much as they say Luganda was used, and there's somebody who told me that Luganda is spoken in Kenya. I've been to Kenya, I've lived there, and Tanzania. As much as there are languages that are similar to Luganda, but they have not Luganda. We have languages which are just Bantu languages in those sides, but they are not. It's not Luganda. It's just like we have Bantu. Even in South Africa, they have Debunking, they have Bantu languages, actually in the Africa. And we can't say that is Luganda. So that was wrong for the Ugandans. But Kiswahili has most, actually in the whole of Africa, it beats Luganda.
Does that mean that like the statement that goes that Swahili, the significance of the language, makes it a lingua franca in the East, that is in the East and Central Africa, like you explained earlier on, borrowing of words. When you're in a society, of course, the language lives on and it grows, and you try to borrow words. Is that the significance that they're talking about? And also, something else that one would recognize is that you'd appreciate the language as it's spoken if you're in Tanzania, if you are in Kenya, and appreciate it if you are in the DRC. But it sounds different. They say the one in Tanzania is quite a bit tough. It's different from that of Kenya and different from the DRC and the ones that we speak here in Uganda. How true is that?
Again, I can still say it's wrong, because if you master a language, it's about mastering the system. There are words that you have to follow, the grammar and all that complex structure of a language. So when you talk about Tanzania having good Kiswahili, like they used to tell us, I studied in Kenya in my O level. I was in Tanzania, also part of my study. But then they used to tell us Uganda they speak very good English. But when I came here, having been to good schools in Kenya, I would beat some Ugandans. I'm not saying Ugandans don't know good English, but I would beat them because I had good teachers. So if you have good teachers, like in Tanzania, they struggle to master the structure of Kiswahili, the system of the words and all that. So they are good in the language. So as you struggle, like in Congo, they put Lingala and everything. So if you know the language and you listen to the Congolese speak, they speak something funny. If you speak broken Kiswahili kichafu, you don't say that is Kiswahili cha Congo or that's Kiswahili cha. Now in Kenya, sometimes we put Sheng. They put English Kiswahili. But Tanzania, they really try to speak the right Kiswahili, the grammar. It's just like English, really. If somebody is speaking broken English, you don't say, now that's English of Kenya or English of Tanzania.
That is kichafu.
Ati Kiingereza kichafu. Kiswahili kichafu is broken.
Well, amazing. So it should be appreciated in whichever region. Well, that will take me to my next question. How does it contribute to the unity? The unity when it comes to culture, the aspect of culture, and also a mode of communication in the various regions where it is used.
True. Kiswahili, like I said, it's a unifying language. And right now, it's used for business, economy, even the culture. The Swahili culture is very rich. And even now with the East Africa, really, there's intermarriages, the Kenyans come here maybe for business, or Ugandans go to Kenya or Tanzania for business. Like now the oil thing, I think I heard the oil was being processed in Tanzania, something like that. And then you fail to communicate. Language basically is meant for communication. And you can't say you can't communicate with an African in the East Africa just because you don't know Kiswahili. Kiswahili should not really divide us, or language shouldn't divide us. Let Kiswahili unite us so that we can have a lot of things we can do apart from business.
Well, does that mean that the motivation for it to be taken on or be adopted as an official spoken language in the East African, region, is that where the motivation came from? Or what would your take be, the motive behind when they decided to take it on when they decided to adopt it as an official speaking language?
First of all, I have to thank the government, maybe East Africa at large. I can't forget to thank Tanzania. They fought for Kiswahili to penetrate. All this was just Kiswahili moving, and the movement, I'm sure it came from Tanzania. Kiswahili in Uganda, they tried some few years back to make it a national language, but I think it failed. And from my small understanding, it's because Luganda had been used so much in the whole of Uganda. And many people, I think, speak some Luganda. So they had wanted Luganda. But Kiswahili had gone in many countries. Kiswahili had moved in Kenya. It was good in Tanzania. The fight the Luganda did here was not like the Tanzania, the sacrifices that were done in Tanzania for Kiswahili. Even Kenya embraced it. I'm glad finally Uganda embraced it, and I can't stop to say that Congo speaks Kiswahili kichafu.
Well, when you're so happy and excited, I like it. When it comes to the integration, having Kiswahili as an official language in the East African countries. Well, that particular decision which was made, how do you think it has it has enabled or it has added, has added onto the integration itself, the cooperation.
It unifies us.
So now I think we are one.
We are one. We have that unity. Then I would think it's a good thing to have Kiswahili as the African language, because like trade, we can move to Kenya and do trade. The other time, actually another thing I would say is about the borders. I think with East Africa, the borders are open, though sometimes you go. Now, Ugandans still fear to cross to Kenya, Tanzania, Congo, because there are some border restrictions. I wish they would open them so that we can move freely and talk Kiswahili freely, because now you can imagine you go to Tanzania and you can't move with your English because they don't want lugha ya Kimombo. They want Kiswahili peke yake. Now for you in Uganda, you want Kiswahili, you want Kiingereza. Kimombo, lugha ya Kimombo or Kiingereza is just English. And for them, they're saying we want English. And some people were fearing, even Tanzanians were fearing to come to Uganda, because Uganda, they were insisting on English. But now they will come, because now they know you will talk to them Kiswahili, because we are also fighting. Like I told you, I'll donate some books to all of you, and I've really donated books. Actually, you would have got me with some books, but the books I had over 1,000 books. But during the Kiswahili Day, World Kiswahili Day, which was in Africana, I gave out freely around 500 copies.
Amazing, amazing.
Just to support the Kiswahili speakers, because my books are translated. They are English Kiswahili. Like I say, habari za asubuhi, then I say good morning. Habari za mchana, I say good afternoon. Habari za jioni, I say good evening. Then I say nzuri or njema or salama, means I'm fine. Then I also say jioni, I mean asubuhi is morning, mchana is afternoon, jioni is evening. By the time we leave this place, you'll have known how to greet.
I was actually getting to that. Well, for the viewers watching, good to know you're still following this particular episode of Education Forum with my guest for the day, Kiswahili teacher, that is Sweetie Mbache, and my name is Sandra. Well, I just love that bit when you go to the explanation and you're like sharing some of the words that I should pack along with me when I get back home. And as yet to ask, you sharing with us some of the distinctive features of Kiswahili as a language, and that is to do in terms of its phonetics, the alphabet, and the grammar. You're saying in the morning, kwa asubuhi?
Asubuhi is actually grammar with Kiswahili and the words, it's not complicated like French.
Like the alphabet, like you have to follow
it's a just Kiswahili. You see, actually Kiswahili, in Kiswahili language, actually we have someone was saying Swahili and Kiswahili. In lugha ya Kiswahili, Kiswahili in Kiswahili is the language. Like we say Kiganda. In English they say Luganda, and then in English they say Swahili. But in Kiswahili, the language is Kiswahili, then Kiganda, then the person takes the mu. Swahili is a Swahili speaker, Muganda is a
Luganda speaker.
Exactly. Or Ugandan, something. Okay, Luganda speaker, we say mu. Muingereza is an English speaker. Kiingereza is the language. Kikorea is the language. Mukorea
is the person speaking
is the person.
Language.
So I think we need the language very much.
Beautiful. I'm enjoying the program. And then for the viewer, how would you call the viewer, the person who's watching you today? Please interest them in speaking the language.
Msikilizaji is a listener. Wasikilizaji wapendwa. Msikilizaji is singular. Wasikilizaji is plural.
Okay, please welcome them and appreciate them for watching in Kiswahili.
Oh, wasikilizaji wapendwa, karibuni kwenye UBC. Tunashukuru UBC jameni. Imetusaidia, inajaribu kueneza lugha ya Kiswahili. Tunawashukuru wametukaribisha hapa UBC. Nanyi pia mnakaribishwa UBC. Asanteni.
Beautiful.
Karibuni.
Karibuni. Karibuni.
When there are many, you say karibuni. When it's one, you say karibu.
Okay, beautiful. Maybe okay, with what you just gave to us, some of the tips. How accessible should I say the poetry itself? Maybe someone wants to read the poems, or they want to get closer to such literature. Earlier on, you were explaining you write books, and fortunately, you gave some out to many to encourage them to embrace the language itself.
Giving out.
So how can they get such literature for them to get acquainted or get to know and learn the language itself?
Number one, I write my books. I write them for Uganda, because Uganda we teach Kiswahili at beginner level. Since they said they want to resurrect Kiswahili, they know how it died and where it was buried. Now they have the prophecy. So I write for them. The Ministry of Education gave some books to, in Uganda, Kiswahili is now compulsory in secondary and primary next year. But the books that the ministry gave them are not translated. And remember, with the language, when a teacher goes and reads those books and somebody doesn't know a language, sure, it's like you are just making noise. If you don't know if you've not mastered the language structure and the grammar, when somebody is talking, it's just like noise. So I tried to translate for them because I thought the Ugandans need the language. So I started right from the beginning, how to greet. So I greet, I tell you days of the periods of the day. I say asubuhi is morning, mchana is afternoon, jioni is evening. Can you say asubuhi?
Asubuhi.
Mchana.
Mchana.
Jioni.
Jioni.
Then when you are greeting, you say habari za asubuhi. That's good morning. Can you say habari za asubuhi?
Habari za asubuhi.
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 Vizuri sana. That's very good. Then you say nzuri.
Okay, so that's a little bit of the grammar that
yes,
when it comes to the structure,
yes,
that is the grammar one is supposed to kind of have.
Exactly. So I've come from there. Then I've moved to teaching them even sentence construction. So I have some of those books, and like I said, I donate some for you. Maybe they can also contact me. I have a school, though it's still under process. We are still registering the Han River Language School, but we still teach. I do online classes, and I have to appreciate, like in Kenya, the way we got the language. We used to listen to the different songs in Kiswahili, poems. Like there was this poem you would tune any TV or radio station and they're singing Kiswahili kitukuzwe kwani lugha ya taifa. Then they would also say this Kiswahili will kitavuka kiende ngambo, that it will cross abroad, but they should still follow the grammar of the language. They shouldn't change anything. It has to remain like that. So there's a lot of literature if you want to learn Kiswahili.
Mm-hmm. That can easily be accessed by the learners and the teachers themselves. It's yet to be introduced on the primary level. Are those some of the key characteristics that someone should carry on when it comes to the language itself?
Once you have the language, you've mastered it. I would just wish that the government employs the teachers who know the language, because with language, it's about knowing. You can't employ somebody who speaks Kiswahili kichafu and you think or you expect them to teach Kiswahili sanifu.
Sanifu is the correct one.
Sanifu is standard. Yeah.
What are the potential benefits for the learners or for someone out there who is speaking Kiswahili?
Of course, the business, like everybody has said. Then for me, I look at the mingling, being together, relation. I know of many Ugandans who have married Tanzanians, Kenyans. So I think that culture and everything can be shared. Then the business, now Ugandans will have the morale they will be inspired to go and do business in Tanzania, something like that, and Kenya, East Africa.
Okay. Are there any challenges or misconceptions that come through with the language? Because I mean, way back, one would relate to Swahili for those who are the robbers. Any misconceptions that you've heard about for those that are already speaking the language?
Yeah, I've heard, and that's what delayed Uganda from joining, um, from using Kiswahili in the East Africa, or from speaking Kiswahili. I've heard many people say that actually whoever you talk to study it, if you encourage them to study Kiswahili, they say, Kiswahili is a language of thieves. Kiswahili was used to rob them, that the police would rob them using Kiswahili, panda gari, funga mlango. So they have that fear, which is okay, but it's a high time, because if it's a move, we don't have to leave Uganda and anybody behind. They have to forgive what happened and know that a language is a language. Because even in Kiswahili, like I was telling some of my students, that in Kiswahili, as much as you are harassed with the language, we also have polite words that we use. We can say karibu chakula, and then you say asante. So they know how to say asante, and I'm saying, are they not thinking of the fact that as much as they were harassed, but how did they learn asante, karibu? Because they also know them. So they shouldn't take Kiswahili as a language to harass. A language is just for communication, not to harass you. It's a person that harasses, not the language.
Okay, so you think with such challenges, what with your kind of expertise in the years you've been speaking it in the communities where you've been living, and the different students and the parents, I believe you've had a number of engagements before. You think such challenges can be addressed for us to have a good acquisition when it comes to the language?
Yeah, and they are already, now you remember, like I had my friend, is an MP, and he was saying, as much as they want us to discuss in Kiswahili, but how? We cannot have sessions. How many people in the parliament speak Kiswahili? So I was telling him, hey, it's a high time you have to join and move, because we can't leave people behind. We are already in East Africa, surely. And we have to just learn. If you don't know the language, find a way of learning. Forget the other things, because we were told one can learn a language just in 3 months. And remember, if you have the interest, when you like something, then you can do it, because that is also there. There is having the interest, loving something, so they should love and embrace Kiswahili. Like they were telling them, the UN is giving them jobs. There is translation, because now Kiswahili will be used for the African Union. So they are actually, there is room for education. They're paying for them. If you want to do masters in Kiswahili, you will be sponsored. Even in Uganda, actually, they were promised a lot of sponsors during the Kiswahili Day at the Hotel Africana. A lot is going to be done for those who are interested in Kiswahili. And I would think we shouldn't leave anybody behind. They should just embrace the language, forget
the past and the
the
myths
past. Yeah.
that come along with it. Well, good to know you're still watching Education Forum. Our guest for the day, a lovely guest for the day, speaking more to do with Kiswahili as a language, us embracing it as a nation, Uganda, what we can tap from it, especially the institutions out there. That is a topic of discussion for this particular episode. We are here exploring more to do with Swahili as a language, and when it comes to the unity, the culture unity, and the mode of communication, there's really a whole lot that comes through with it. Before we let our guest go, what recommendations or advice would you give?
Back then, they used to say, when you will speak African languages, they will say that you are not educated, you are illiterate. But gone are those days that African languages were treated as people who spoke African languages were treated as illiterate. So we have to embrace Kiswahili and support those who know Kiswahili. Actually, in Uganda, many people know Kiswahili. And if you can promote it by speaking it to anybody, however little you can, even if it's broken, you can still speak to them, the little you know, and that will be encouraging others to speak. Those who can write books, like I said, I'm a writer, an author. I write very many beautiful books. I also never dreamed to write, but I found myself in there, and I'm now helping especially Ugandans to get this language, get the rules, get the grammar, master the complex system of words.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. Maybe just again, since we are not only focusing at the institutions, earlier on you gave an explanation, a great example that is to do with the legislators at Parliament saying they cannot hold a debate in the language itself, and you're encouraging them. Do you think it's easier land for the women in the markets? Because with the integration, opening borders to freely walk in and out of those various borders, one can freely go to the DRC, cross to Kenya to do business on a daily. You think it can easily be adopted, or can someone easily learn, for example, in a market, the women in the market?
Yes, and remember, this is language. And as much as we are taking the language to schools, because remember, when you talk of schools, the women who don't go to schools, how will they learn the language? So it's a good step that we have introduced it. And when you are out there, when you are in the society, you are just forced. Because how will you now speak to you are doing business, for instance, and you need the language. So you will speak your broken, but then we need the translators. So I wish they should be calling my number so that I go with them on their business trips and translate for them in Tanzania so that they don't cheat them.
Okay, that's very interesting. And how about homes for us to easily adopt? Because at the end of the day, if there's bigger business, you're into hospitality and you're receiving guests from different continents, that is already home. You're welcoming them. So how is it going to be like when it comes to translation?
That becomes
what ideas?
Easy. You see, that's the culture and the language becoming so easy, because you can imagine a Tanzania comes and then now you just find it asking, now what do I do? Like, you know, I was never taught Luganda, the little Luganda I speak, but you just ask and they say, you go there. And you have no otherwise but to, it's like sign language. You know, how do you think they will communicate? Because we are leaving them behind as much as we are talking about Kiswahili, but they find a way of penetrating. You have a visitor, maybe they stay with you 2-3 days and you like them. You find yourself talking, eating, you know, like love. You eat their food.
There's a neighbor where I stay. She has just moved into the home. The intermarriage that you talked about earlier on, because you're here to share the success stories and at least the achievements you've achieved. You've registered yourself. Well, this neighbor, she's new and she's married to the gentleman. There is love, but she cannot communicate. So he's like, okay, if you're bored, please move to the next house. They are good people, they're welcoming. So you just look at her. You're just doing sign language. You give her something to eat.
Yeah, and in 3 months or 2 weeks, she will begin. It's just a language is picked just like a child. You know, it's a way of growth. Just like a child, it's actually development. Like a child is born without a language. But when they are in the society where the language is spoken, they begin picking. You don't just harass her, give her matoke, let her taste, because even that's part of the culture. Like me, I came here not eating matoke.
What are you eating?
Ugali. So the Ugandans will tell me, this one likes mulao. So I say, what's this mulao now? So they told me, it's the cooking stick.
It's the cooking
mingling stick.
And then the sauce, the kind of sauce.
Nyama choma wila and sukuma wiki.
So you just do 2 dishes.
Exactly. So the manyoba, I was now manyoba. Actually, I used to call them manyoba until I learned. They said, don't say majanjalo.
and then preparing. Did you know how to prepare the sauce itself? The majanjalo.
So my neighbors do it. I will enjoy it. I ask them. Actually, there are some ladies who will put from morning the nyobwa up to evening. It's just of late that the charcoal became expensive. I no longer see them doing
But
it.
you just do your quick ugali plus
Then
the
just 2
nyama
minutes,
choma.
and you under this Ugandan swag. You put matoke from morning up to evening. And you want to eat just macaroni, rice, 2 minutes you are eating really, than cooking all that, and you waste, and you're like, now see. So she will learn, but slowly. You don't have to rush her. And like I say, that love of something is what paves the way.
So you think with time, the myth, or maybe what is spoken about the language itself, away from the language being related to thieves, and then the ones who speak it are kind of aggressive, they're not welcoming. You
That
think
will go, because we shall teach them how to say karibu. Then they'll find a beautiful lady like you saying karibu, and now they forget their founder who says fungua mlango.
Panda gari.
Panda gari. Now for you I say karibu, karibu chakula, nikupe maji, karibu maji. So it's okay, it's not panda gari, that kind of rough.
Please interest the students who are watching, the young generation, because they's doing it like the way I did, just to pass my examinations. I'm just doing cram work. Kind of interest them on how to, to embrace this language and know they can earn from it at the end of the day. It will help them get into the society, find jobs easily, get into the job market quick. There are offers from the UN itself. Please interest them now that you're a teacher. For the beginning class, how do you start
You have to learn how to greet. And to greet, you have to know the periods of the day. You don't have to be like one of when I had just come here, my neighbor's house girl knew that I didn't know Luganda. And then she didn't know English. So whenever I would be going to work, she would say, good morning, madam. She was learning English. Even when I would be coming back from work, she would say, good morning, madam. So I taught her, morning. It's when I go. When I come, evening. She learned. And that's how she learned. So she would greet me, good evening. Yet she didn't know English. She only know good morning. Maybe from her school, she was taught in nursery, good morning, since they were going to school in the morning. So I will tell the dear students and anybody else, it's easy to learn a language. You can be in a place and just with time, less than 3 months, you'll be speaking that language perfectly. Like for instance, a young child, that part of development, sometimes they are not taught. They're just playing with their fellow, just learning, having the interest, and you pick. Then also, unlike Sandra, who says she learned it to pass, it's good to learn something to be part of you so that you can use it elsewhere. Like most of the students nowadays, anything they do it for the teacher.
That's another
to
thing
be
as
happy.
well.
Yeah, so that the teacher is happy. But where I studied from, when the teacher will teach you something and you are happy and you get it, you do what the teacher is doing, that will make the teacher's day. The teacher is like, yeah, I taught her. Teachers don't earn much. They just get satisfaction when the students get what they are teaching. So if the teachers would embrace this language and let the students, give them some little time to learn, not to force them cram and pass exams. Let them enjoy, give them debates, give them interesting books, give them time, allocate more time to Kiswahili. Maybe even take them out to Tanzania, camp there maybe for a week. They'll come back speaking the language.
You put them in that land. Put them in the
put
waters.
Them there, exactly. Take them to Kenya for a holiday.
At least a week.
A week. Let the government can help, or even the students can be willing to, if they can go for these other tours. Why not Kiswahili? Now that the border is open, take the students to Tanzania, where the language is spoken. They spend some time there with the Tanzanians because they'll not talk their English there. When they come back here, they'll not talk any other language.
They'll be able to have sentence construction.
They'll be speaking Kiswahili kichafu, but from Kiswahili kichafu, they get Kiswahili sanifu.
So when you're speaking about the teachers themselves at the different levels, even institutional levels, is there a gender balance? Are there more women taking up the spaces to take on the mantle, be teachers?
All teachers are teachers.
With the experience you've had where you are
Teachers are
in
teachers.
Uganda.
They are a mixture. There are men who love teaching language. I think it's just like a child. It may be like maybe talent. Like you see, for me, I liked language, but because I was never told that formulas are easy. Because somebody just told me when I had said mathematics is very hard, I registered failure.
You just ran away from the math class.
Yeah, then somebody told, why did you even? You see, with math, you just know 1 + 1. You just know this formula once it's in your head. But now with language, read the literature books. Read this to be a good writer or speaker. You have gone. But with sciences, just formula. Now I say, I wish I was here. Actually, I should go back and do sciences now that I'm paying them high.
I was about to ask, where would you be best positioned if you decided to go back?
Maybe because of the salary increment, I would go back and do sciences, because now I know the trick that it's about formula. But I now love languages. I wouldn't, even if I went back, language was just in me. I wake up and it's an exam for English, Kiswahili. I'm like, bring now. But when it comes to mathematics, biology, sciences, I have to first revise.
Well, speaking about the examinations themselves, when it comes to assessing them, have you tried to look at the papers maybe from various institutions, the grading itself? Because at least for some courses, there's a bit of excuse that these are women or these are girls. They're given maybe they already have their points. They are saved for them. How is it like for Swahili in Uganda?
Kiswahili, I would say, since it's done at beginner's level, the students who do Kiswahili have already teachers who are like, at least if you say something small, like they say in France, if you speak any little French, those people like it. So even the teachers, if you speak something small, they're like, hey, can even write something, and you get your mark. It's not tight like English. Anything small you do, you get your mark. Any small sentence, even if it's Kiswahili kichafu, they're not so strict. So they have the scores there. That's what I know. In Kiswahili in Uganda, when it comes to marking, actually I taught St. Lawrence for so long. I can't forget that. And I can't forget to appreciate Muchivi. I was a student when he employed me in St. Lawrence, because he just wanted somebody who had ever lived in Tanzania or Kenya. So there I was.
And you grabbed the opportunity.
He said, we shall teach you how to teach. So he used to organize seminars for teachers. People will come and teach us how to teach. So by the time I did my postgraduate in education, I already knew how to teach. The schemes of work, lesson plan, he will teach us. And because he will sympathize with me, he will call me in person and say, have you practiced? Because you are going to teach this and this. Because he stayed in Kenya for so long, he knew Kiswahili. So he'll say, you are going to speak this, get enough examples, do this. And he will pay me much money even.
At that particular age.
I was just a student. Even I told my mother, hey, they're giving me a lot of money. My mother said, tell them to reduce.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was just a student. I had just come and he was looking for somebody to teach who has been, who had ever lived.
And there an opportunity.
I never dreamed of being a teacher. That's how I started teaching.
Wow, salute to that gentleman.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take you back. Your journey walking into the Swahili world itself. What are some of those myths that you'd hear people say about the language?
Apart from the fact that they will say Kiswahili was born from Tanzania, this and this, then they will say Kiswahili is a mixture of Bantu and Arabic. Then they would also say the Kiswahili, they were harassed, especially in Uganda.
It was not true. That is to
Nothing
do
more
with
I've had.
that is to do with slave trade or just
They said the
miscommunication?
police would harass them, really.
Mhm.
Actually, many people in Uganda, up to now. But I
Could
wonder
that
if
be the
those
reason? Could
people...
that be the reason as to why Uganda was still lagging behind all this while?
Yeah, but then again, I'm optimistic that generation, that age that says that was harassed is about to go. When they go,
Well, I need
these
you to
ones now,
elaborate more on that.
they are growing old.
They're growing old.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're growing old. They will no longer fight.
Mm.
Yeah, they've grown old. Most of them are no longer in the system. So we have new blood, and if we can only give them, open the border, let them go to Tanzania, Kenya. They'll speak Kiswahili because they'll find interesting people. They will find love in Kiswahili.
Okay, now.
And they will not see the harassment.
Okay, let me say you're speaking to the president and you're giving him such advice. What would you tell him when it comes to the language itself, the East African integration, the opportunities you've been sharing for the students and the teachers that are yet to come if Uganda embrace this? How would you explain to His Excellency, giving him ideas?
You see, the Excellency himself has been eyeing the East Africa. As much as for him, anajua Kiswahili. He can talk very good Kiswahili, by the way. And you know, he stayed in Tanzania. I'm not sure, but I'm told. I've listened to him talk Kiswahili. So, since he himself is already talking Kiswahili, I would ask him kindly. Already he's doing it. Like he says, you know, he's the first person to say he actually fought. I can't say he has not helped. Even this time, I have to thank our president, surely, for this struggle. By the time he also said no to taking Luganda, because in Uganda, they really wanted Luganda to be the national language. But he said, let's take Kiswahili, because he wants the East Africa himself. Let him open the borders for the rest of the people. That's what, let Ugandans not be harassed in Kenya. Let them not be harassed in Tanzania. There are still some harassment at the borders. When Ugandans go to Tanzania, they still disturb them. Leta kitambulisho, who are you? Those things. Yet we are East Africa. Why? So they should open the borders, and he should, since he says he's resurrecting Kiswahili. I'm not saying he said, but the Ugandans are saying, I heard this from the Kiswahili Day in Hotel Africana. Ugandans are saying, yeah, Kiswahili had died. Now it's resurrecting in Uganda. And they were feeling so nice. I say, haha. So let them open the borders, especially. That's my cry. Let Ugandans swim. Let Ugandans learn Kiswahili. And they master. Actually, what I pray is they don't talk Kiswahili kichafu. I wouldn't want them to swim towards Congo. Congo has some Kiswahili, but it's Kiswahili kichafu. Actually, Burundi talks some Kiswahili.
They mix it up with the Lingara.
But again, I must say, if you have been to class, like I said,
you'll not speak the Kiswahili.
You'll not speak Kiswahili kichafu. Just like English in Uganda. If you've been to class, do you speak
the
broken
English?
You speak the correct one.
Now, you highly speaking about the Swahili Day itself, what are some of those? Can you share with us some of the deliberations that went on that would embrace and practice as Uganda? Because we have lagged so much behind, we need to move faster.
Yeah, it's a high time. You see, when you are behind, like now where we are, you're already like yesterday. So you just have to, this move is too big. So we have to get, like I said, I wish I would get my books moved to everybody so that they are somewhere. Just get on board. There are many opportunities. You know, the fact that the UN, the UN guys can feel very big. We, the UN, when they're speaking, the UN. We shall not say we, the Africans, with our language.
Language
Language gives power.
Mm-hmm.
Even the UN gets
was that
power.
pride? Did you feel that pride on the
From
Swahili
Uganda.
Day?
Uganda resurrecting
So we should
Kiswahili
have
now.
another Swahili Day.
Yeah.
When you have such
Now, it will just
conferences
be
or
every
cohorts.
day, because now we need to spread Kiswahili. We have to talk Kiswahili, and we have to move to, especially Tanzania and Kenya, they talk good Kiswahili and have good teachers. They had talked of employing good teachers from Tanzania and Kenya to help Ugandans learn Kiswahili. I don't know what happened, because even I was in the teachers meeting and they still said that the many teachers who have done deep certificates, they're not employed by the government. The government still says they don't have money to pay teachers, which is so sad. Let the president, as they resurrect Kiswahili, put money to
consider the teachers as well.
Teachers. There are many teachers of Kiswahili out here, but they say the government does not employ teachers with a degree. Why?
Specifically in that language?
In Kiswahili, yeah.
Okay.
And then at the same time, they have given job to teachers with the diploma. They are really trying, but they need some more they have to be helped, especially financially. And two, the degree teachers should help the diplomas.
Another way to collaborate to make this better.
There are many teachers in Uganda for degree, very many who have degree holders.
And they are sitting by.
They have no jobs.
Opportunities. Wow. Well, time is against us. Word of encouragement or something you feel you've left out that you'd love to share with the viewers watching? Maybe one wants to be your student.
They should just come. They should come to Han River School of Languages. My number is 0772334655. Then I also use.
Then you also give it in Swahili.
077. Nambari yangu ya simu ni 0772334655. Nina nambari mbili. I have two numbers.
Okay.
The next one is 0789 129 529. 0789 129 And then I would ask them to surely learn Kiswahili. And then I can't go without talking about my friends at the CHUS, that's Makerere College of Language Institute. They really helped me to write. They gave me a chance to teach, a platform, and that made it for me. I got students, I had diplomas like you, working class, and I thought they shouldn't come. Then we begin writing. So I thought of got my notes, organized them. That's how my writing started. As much as Muchiwi had already encouraged us to write. So then I was still writing. And remember, writing is not easy. At night, you are busy. And then somebody is asking, I corrected your book. Have you worked on the correction? And you're, hi, do you know what it means to write? Then I had my friend, who was my student, was here as the UN Women leader, was a residence. He helped me. When I started teaching, when I went to teach him, I got a chance to teach him. He's now the regional director of UN East and Central Africa. So he supported me. He will tell me stories in English, then I will just do the translation. That's how my second book and third book came up. Then he gave me a laptop, because I would fight with the laptops at the university to write my work. So this time I had my own laptop to do my editing, to write midnight, everything. So that's how I started, and I would encourage anyone who wants to learn Kiswahili, please contact me. I'll help you. I'll give you a free book.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure you've really inspired quite a number of people out there. Wish you all the best.
Thank
you.
And
please keep up with the great work.
Thank
you. Congratulations to you, and appreciation for that big heart.
Asante. Asante sana.
Karibu.
Haya.
Well, karibu to our guest for the day, and karibuni all of you for watching. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. Thank you so much for choosing the National Broadcaster and watching Education Forum. My name is Sandra Kahunde. Wish you all the best. God bless you.
The celebrations and happiness all over the place. Well, stay tuned. There is so much coming your way. We have interacted with students from different faculties, including engineering, medicine, education, but now is natural resources and environment science. Well, Busitama is all about the sciences. Welcome to the show.
Now, students are very funny beings.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to such activities, sometimes it blows off their minds and they forget that they are supposed to read books and concentrate in books. Like, for example, on the eve of such events, they're excited. They don't even want to touch a book because they're thinking, oh,
in your presentation, you talked about something about countries getting involved in space science and having their own space science programs. Why do you think they all need space science programs?
So there has been an outbreak of Ebola, and that means we have to be conscious about the people we engage with, what we do, and some of the signs and symptoms. And that brings us to the next section, which is the disease prevention. And these nurses are going to talk to us more about Ebola. Well, my name is Amuga Victoria. That is all we had on the Education Forum today. Until next time, bye-bye.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. This weekend on UBC.
Hey guys, this weekend we have an excellent show because we speak to the king of Luga Latino himself, Yoruba, also better known as Dax Cartel. Such an interesting character. He spills his heart out and he tells us why he got into music in the first